Hey guys, so I apologize for not uploading in a while. I've been incredibly busy, and I've also been trying to evaluate what I want to cover on the channel, and it sounds like at E3 we'll be shown a lot of very promising topics that I can cover, like the Avengers Project, potentially Bioshock 4, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I wanted to sort of give an update on my thoughts on the whole AAA open world DC game announcement and whether or not we'll get it at E3, and the reason I wanted to give this update is because though I've been very vocal about my opinion on Twitter, I've kind of left my subscribers out of the loop just because I haven't made a video in a while. So I wanted to sort of update that and talk about the community and some of the very irrational thinking that I feel is going on. And I'm not trying to insult or demean or belittle anybody. I'm just saying that I personally don't think we're going to get an announcement at E3, and I know that that might not be what a lot of you guys want to hear. But before you just go ahead and dislike the video, just try to hear me out a little bit. And I don't know, I think it's ironic because people are going to give me hate for saying that, but people also gave me hate when I said it was going to happen. They're like, you lie to kids who don't know better, and and you tell them that an announcement is coming when it's really not. So this is my official thoughts. I really don't think we're going to get something. If you'd have asked me last month, Irogen, do you think we're going to get a DC game announcement before E3-ish, and we're going to see this game at E3? And I would have said, yeah, I think that there's a very solid chance of this happening. Now, when the May Game Informer cover went by and we didn't get a reveal, I sort of came under the impression that we won't see anything, and it's kind of when I began to think I began to think about how realistic an announcement at E3 actually is. And honestly, it's very slim, and there's a lot of evidence against a game. And, the evidence that people are trying to be like, no, it's going to be there. Look at all this evidence. But the evidence that I'm being shown doesn't sell me on the idea that we're going to get a DC game announcement. And I'll explain why. I'll explain that. But also, I just really quickly want to address the idea that, I'm acting entitled and, dang, where's my game, And I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I don't think we're going to see anything, and that's fine, especially because Rocksteady has already been very open. My only complaint ever has been that I feel like sometimes WB is a little bit too tight-lipped, and that doesn't fall on Rocksteady or Warner Brothers Games Montreal. That's not their problem whatsoever. They've all signed NDAs. They can't say what Warner Brothers Games doesn't want them to say. And so that responsibility really falls on Warner Brothers Games making occasionally poor PR decisions. Like last year when there was a huge Superman rumor and they wouldn't let Rocksteady deconfirm it. That was a bit of an issue. I don't know. But personally, I think that they've learned from their mistakes, and I really respect them for allowing Rocksteady to come out and say that they won't be at E3. What I find funny is that that's what a lot of people have been claiming they want, and when Rocksteady did that, they're all, in the comments like, shut down Rocksteady, Sefton Hill. Geez, this is garbage. Just pack up the bags because you're clearly not making anything. I'm like, guys, they're being transparent with us. They're doing what we asked, and you're still mad? Chill out. I don't know. I think people believe leaks way too easily. We had the whole Suicide Squad rumor, which I still think Suicide Squad is a very likely IP candidate for Rocksteady to be working on. I never believed the whole leak, oh yeah, we'll get the announcement on June 4th and we'll see him at E3. I didn't think that was true, and alas, it was not. Sefton Hill came out on June 4th and said that they won't be at E3 rather than revealing a trailer. So I don't know. I find this all kind of not funny. There's certain things that I find a little bit ironic because a lot of the people who get mad at me for, saying that certain things are possible or not are the same people that get extremely triggered at Rocksteady and WB Games Montreal when they deconfirm stuff. And so that's sort of the first evidence that people are trying to exclaim to me, oh, that means they'll be at E3, Warner Brothers Games Montreal. It means they'll be there because they're not deconfirming it, only Rocksteady. Now, if you're saying that because a studio is not saying that they won't be at E3, that's confirmation that they will be there. I don't know how long you've been watching the game industry, but it's actually not all that common for studios to say they won't be at E3. In fact, it was kind of unprecedented for Rocksteady to do it. I didn't even think it was necessary for them this year. Last year, my problem was that the Superman game was rumored so heavily, and so many people believed it, and there were insiders reporting on it, oh yeah, I think it's real, and stuff like that. So there were so many problems with that. And the fact is that this year, insiders are saying there hasn't even been a whisper of Warner Brothers Games Montreal showing up. And that's concerning for a number of reasons. But when you have people like Andrew Reiner saying, I don't think Warner Brothers Games Montreal is going to be there. I've talked to a source who has been very reputable. He said that he's 90% sure that they won't be there. And that's concerning. I think that really lowers any hope of us seeing anything from them. Also, Kevin Conroy on Twitter has been talking to Rocksteady and kind of bantering with them, saying that he wants them to do the next Arkham game. And people are like, oh, that means that there's a new Batman game coming out. It means he's working on it. No, if he was working on a new Batman game with Rocksteady, he would have signed NDAs saying he couldn't talk about it. And he would probably be tweeting at Warner Brothers Games Montreal rather than Rocksteady. So the fact that Kevin Conroy doesn't know about this new Batman game, that's also kind of a big head scratcher, because though they might be using Roger Craig Smith for an Arkham Origins sequel, that would make sense. And I don't know, maybe we have to do the process of elimination and determine that that's what they're working on if they're as close to being done as we think they are. But really, Roger Craig Smith was only hired for Arkham Origins because Kevin Conroy was working on Arkham Knight at the time. Same with Troy Baker doing Joker, Mark Hamill was working on Arkham Knight. So I think that, I don't know, it's just sort of a situation that's really concerning. And when you look at the Warner Brothers Games Montreal job listings for their current project, it doesn't necessarily seem like they're done. And there have been tweets from the developers like, oh, the game is looking really good, but you can almost view that from a different lens of like, maybe they're just getting to a point where certain aspects and mechanics are playable and they're like, oh, this is working out really great. So I don't know. They might not be as close to done as we think they are. Who knows? They might be. We might be surprised. I'm simply stating that I find an announcement to be unlikely. Now, the other big piece of evidence that people are showing me is that Amazon UK listed like 7 to 9 placeholder pre-order areas for WB games. And the thing is that while that does mean that we'll probably get something at E3, just because they're listing placeholders, A, does not mean that every announcement will happen at E3. B, it doesn't mean that they're Batman. And C, just because there's 9 placeholders doesn't mean that there's 9 separate games coming out. Last year there were like, I don't know, it was like a ton of placeholders as well. I don't remember how many, but all of them were for Hitman 2. We were convinced that at least one of them would be Superman. We're like, hey, there's like 3 placeholders here. One of them's got to be Superman, and none of them were. They were all for Hitman 2. We got a Lego game, things like that. I don't know, and I'm just really trying to think if it's even possible. And I'm looking at the press conferences. Sony isn't going to be there. If you were to tell me that they were going to announce at a press conference, I'd say they'll be at Sony. Sony isn't there. I don't think they'll announce at Microsoft because Microsoft is going to be very focused on first-party games and probably a new console. So I don't feel like that would be the right time for them to announce it, and Sony won't be there. And like, I don't know, I don't think they'll announce a new Batman game on the Switch, on the Nintendo press conference or at the Ubisoft conference. Like, it's not going to happen anywhere else. So Microsoft is kind of our only chance. The only way that I could see this actually being pulled off is if, like, right after this video, Warner Brothers gets on Twitter and says, hey, secret announcement for a big project coming, tomorrow. Then you could have a case of, oh, the secret announcement will be Batman. That's possible, but also I think that Lego Star Wars is probably going to be one of their main events and attractions for E3. I think that they'll probably announce Lego Star Wars. That will be their announcement. I don't know. It's just really unlikely, in my opinion, that we're going to see Batman Arkham 2019 get announced at E3. Again, VGAs is a different story. I think VGAs is very likely, or at least very possible. Not necessarily likely, but very possible. I think it's the fact that no insider has heard even a whisper about it. That's kind of unheard of. The fact that we're already getting a lot of deconfirmation. The fact that there's no Sony press conference, the fact that it hasn't been on the Game Informer cover, it hasn't been announced before E3. I don't know. It's just getting very late in the game to announce it. I don't think it'll be at E3 personally. If you were to ask me a percentage, I'd say that there's really only about a 5% chance we'll see them. I hope to be proven wrong. I hope we get something. All that I'm saying is that I think it's unrealistic that we'll see anything, and I think people are really reaching. There's a lot of people saying, well, I still expect them to be there, and if they're not, I'm going to be mad at them. And I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, I don't know. I'm going in. I think we could get, it's already been confirmed the Avengers project will be there. Ubisoft has a huge booth, and there's rumors that we'll be seeing Splinter Cell or Prince of Persia, so that'd be cool. Again, I'm not expecting them, but I think that it's very possible. I think that it's cool that Sony, even though they won't have a press conference, still has a lot of projects nearing completion, like The Last of Us 2 and, Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know, I think it's promising that 2K has a big booth and that they've been sort of hyping up the BioShock community with a new Twitter account and things. So I think it's possible we could be seeing BioShock 4. Ultimately, I'm really excited for E3. I'm just saying I don't think that we'll be getting a AAA DC game. And, I know, again, that might disappoint some people, but I hope you can see my standpoint. And I understand if you still think it's likely that we'll get something. I think it's unlikely, but still very possible. Again, only like 5% chance, but it's possible. I don't know. Just as someone who's sort of watched patterns of Warner Brothers games, I've researched extensively how they announce and release games and titles, and it would be very unprecedented and very weird if they announced it at E3. I'd be completely happy and pleasantly surprised. I just personally don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, I will be blown away. So all that I'm really saying is that I'm not setting myself up for disappointment, but I'm also setting myself up so that if there is an announcement, it's not like I won't be hyped for it. And that's really what I suggest people go into E3 for. Don't go in just hoping for a DC game. Go in, watch the Microsoft conference, watch the Ubisoft conference, watch everything. And you know what? Like, if DC is the only thing you're excited for, maybe branch off and play some other games. There's a lot of great stuff to play out there. And I think that sometimes we just get a little bit too fixated on, this specific franchise. And I'm guilty of this myself, which is why this channel will be branching out a little bit. I have more to talk about with the indie horror game I'm developing very soon, and I'm excited to talk about that. But anyways, thanks you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below whether or not you think it's likely that we'll see a DC game get announced at E3. And again, thanks you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me, and we'll see you guys in the next one.